Hi everybody, my name's Kate and my research question is: does position in the tribe on FetLife reflect self-presentation and by extension social capital? I'm still not absolutely certain that this is going to be the fixed title, but it will certainly be close to this. I should probably say a brief word here to introduce FetLife, which I'm guessing most of you won't be familiar with. FetLife is an adult social networking site with almost 5.5 million members. It describes itself as a social network for the BDSM, fetish and kinky community, like Facebook but run by kinksters. Significantly, FetLife is not designed to run primarily as a dating site, but rather for meeting people in a social context, exchanging information and updates, and finding out about real-life events. There are three key areas or concepts that I am drawing on for the project. The first is COSANET's member types. In 1999, COSANET suggested 4 member types that existed in virtual communities: tourists, minglers, devotees and insiders, roughly translating to 4 levels of engagement. Tourists lack social ties and have only a passing interest. Minglers have strong social ties but less interest in the activity itself. Devotees have strong interest in the activity but less interest in social ties. And finally, insiders have both strong social ties and strong personal ties to the consumption behaviour. Although COSANET was writing from a marketing viewpoint, if we think of the BDSM scene as a consumption activity and FetLife as a platform for this consumption, we can use COSANET's types as a means to categorise individual FetLife members and look for differences in behaviour. Secondly, I'm looking at variations in self-presentation using the research of Marwick and Boyd, Goffman, Ali Al-Asiri et al., Kaplan and Heenlan, Vitak and others. There are multiple areas of interest here. Firstly, I'm going to try and see whether there is a correlation between tribe position and self-disclosure, i.e. if a FetLife user is an insider, so has strong ties to the community and high consumption activity, does that make for a higher or lower level of self-disclosure? The research of Marwick and Boyd would suggest that it makes for lower. The larger the audience, the more that individuals only post things they believe their broadest group of acquaintances will find non-offensive. My early results indicate this is also the case on FetLife. Users who have larger social groups on FetLife, and particularly are seen as holding a position of responsibility, mediate their posts to stay within an acceptable range of behaviours and ideas. Within the same area, I'm also trying to tease out the effects of privacy on self-presentation. Vitak found in 2012 that privacy concerns and privacy settings impact disclosures in varying ways. I'm very interested to find out the effect of privacy on self-presentation on FetLife, given it is likely to be more profound than on other social networking sites. FetLife is an adult site, and although there is a sign-up process, it's free to join. There are steps members can take to protect their privacy, including setting posts to friends only and blocking followers. However, from starting to talk to users of the site, both perceived and actual risks of exposure are present. These risks are both from within the site, i.e. from other members, and from outside, from law enforcement or work colleagues. I'm trying to explore how people balance these risks and still reach a level of self-presentation which allows them to network successfully on the site. Finally, I'm trying to draw these theories of tribe and self-presentation together and explore how they may relate to social capital on the site. It has been recognised that self-presentation, and more specifically levels of disclosure within that presentation, affect trust, and by extension tie formation and maintenance. Given the kink scene, certainly among members who would identify as devotees or insiders, runs on both explicit and implicit trust, I'm interested to see how this expresses itself on FetLife and how that translates to social capital. In terms of methodological approach, I've chosen to conduct a series of interviews with users of FetLife. Having spoken to Dave, I'm sticking to 5 interviews, as more than that would generate too much data for the breadth of the project. There are 3 main reasons why I've chosen this qualitative approach. Firstly, the terms and conditions of FetLife state that you cannot use any information from the site without written permission from the owners. This is notoriously hard to get and wasn't really an option given the timescales. Secondly, trying to discover how FetLife is used in comparison with other social media sites requires quite a nuanced approach. There seem to be small but significant differences, and this would be difficult to capture in a questionnaire. Last but not least, if I'm conducting live interviews, I have the opportunity to delve more deeply if someone gives an intriguing answer. Although this does risk getting sidetracked, I'm finding it also produces some of the most interesting data. I've conducted 3 interviews so far and have 2 more scheduled in. I'm finding 2 main challenges with the approach. One is trying to design questions that focus the participants into thinking about the areas I'm interested in, but without accidentally guiding them into the answers I may be expecting. The second is how on earth I take all of the data produced during the interviews, in total probably about 2.5 hours worth, and marshal it in such a way that I can pull out both specific details and trends that will help to answer my question. There is some great information courtesy of the University of Surrey on how to break down the information and analyse it, and I've put some notes on the slide about this. There are also more general disadvantages with using the interview method. It's extremely time consuming, both in terms of the actual interviews and transcribing, and there is also significant space for subjectivity, both in the ways the interviews are conducted and how the research is interpreted. Additionally, and specifically to this project, there is significant bias, as due to the subject matter, I am interviewing people I know well and who have a level of trust in me. This means there will inevitably not be a true representative sample of all the users on FetLife. There are alternative methods I could have used. Observation would have been possible, although I suspect there would have been issues around FetLife terms and conditions. There would also have been potential problems around anonymity, both for those taking part in the research and people they interacted with on the site. With a larger and longer term project, using multiple approaches, including interviews, observations and questionnaires, would give the best chance of highly accurate data. In terms of quantitative approaches, I could have used questionnaires and surveys. However, as I said earlier, it would have been difficult to drill down to the level of detail I needed in a questionnaire. Also, it would have been very difficult, in the time available, to source sufficient participants without using FetLife itself as a contact method, thereby breaking the terms and conditions of the site. There are advantages to quantitative methods, not least that it is easier to accurately analyse statistical data. However, I think that for this question, qualitative data gives the most content-rich information. Thanks very much.